Okay, so let's look at the other tools in our Q menu. We'll start with a spline and we'll create a curve like so, escape to commit. And on the Q menu here, we can see that we've got these range of tools here that we'll be looking at in this video. Before I do that, I'm going to choose the curve in the curves tree here, and I'm just going to rename this one my curve. So I'll just put my at the front of it. Once I've done that, I will hit that Q menu again and select the first tool, which is the erase tool. So it's called actually erase under pen, and this circle that you can see, the radius, is the pen radius. That can be changed here in this with this slider. You can also use your bracket keys on the keyboard as well as the middle mouse wheel. Anything that comes inside of this circle will be erased. It won't erase any specific part of this, for example, between 2 points or the whole of the curve with one click. It's almost like erasing while painting. And what I mean by that is if I left click over the curve here and then drag the mouse with the left mouse button pressed, you can see I'm starting to erase. Now, one thing to notice down here is that in the curves tree, you notice I made a my curve, and as that's selected here, you can see the one selected in red is the actual original curve, and that's what's left of it. Obviously, the middle part here has been erased, and this section here has been named erased chunk. Now this part is the leftover from the process of erasing. The name it's given it is just a default name, and if I continue to erase parts of this one, it will be called erase chunk 1, erase chunk 2, etc. So as you're doing this, it's good policy to just give it a name. So it could be something like curve 2. So for example, now if I erase this one and just drag the eraser tool here, so now the original curve is this one from curve 2, and this section here is the erased part of that original curve. So it can get a little bit confusing, and just keeping tabs on the curve tree and making sure that you know which of these layers here relate to which curve in the actual main window. Now, even though we do have this erased section here, it still acts as a normal curve. We can still edit this in exactly the same way as we did before. So I can just use my selection here, click on this point, and let's say if I wanted to move it, let's go to Q and move, and here I can start to move this around as we saw in the previous video. So moving on, let's hit the Q menu again. And these two tools here, I'm going to return to these towards the end of the video as they are slightly different. So let's move on to the circle tool here. You can see we've got this dialog box with some information in there. Hold down the left mouse button and just click to create my circle. If I hold shift, I will be able to constrain that to a perfect circle. So let's release there, and with this still selected, I can now come into here and start to change the properties of this, which is all straightforward, and we already know about the position of this circle, whether it's X, Y, and Z values. And we've also got this one here, which may be a little bit unusual, and this gives us basically an angle for us to work with. So I can change the properties of this based on this segmented angle here. And if I use the angle start, it will just rotate that whole object around that center point. At any time, I can choose the move tool. So I'll hit Q and hit move, and I can move this whole object around and escape, and I've still got those properties. So let's delete this one now, and let's create some more of those. So the Q menu, and let's choose another one. And this time I'm going to turn this one off and go for centered. And all this means is that when I create my curve, my circle, in this case, I'm going to be creating that from the center outwards. And the reason that this is not a complete circle is because I left the angle in here So I need to just make sure that I close that off. So I can continue to make many variations of this, or whatever sizes I prefer, like so. And you can see that my curve tree gets populated each time I create a new one. So looking at the next option, we have this rectangle, and again, like with the circle, we have a dialog box. And if I start to create some shapes here, we've got our rectangles. And if I hold shift, then I'm going to constrain it to a square. Again, we've got the options on here to change some parameters. So with this one that's selected here, or this one that's here, it's slightly larger. I can create a radius on here, and I can specify the radii on an X and a Y for this to get a different shape. I can also increase the width and the height using this, and also again the positions and also the drawing of the object from the center outwards should I need to do that. Right clicking, you can convert to a regular curve. So that would be useful. For example, if I use the selection here, I click and drag these points and maybe use my move tool, and let me just reset my axis here, and then I can move these wherever I like. Sometimes you may have created a primitive curve like we have here, and when you roll over, let's say you want to change some properties in here, and when you do that, you get something like this where it just won't pick up those editing lines. The reason for this is that you've got the wrong brush type selected. If you go back to the curve here and then click on, you can see that now I can change the properties of the actual curve itself. Our next option on the Q menu is the Enon tool here. So by clicking that, again, you have the primitive options for changes that you may need to make. So here, for example, we can choose how many sides. So if I want a 6-sided Enon, I will click and drag this one out. Let's do that one again. So I'll hold the shift down and click and drag that one. So here I'll move this one back over. So I've selected my Enon here, and let's choose the Enon parameters here. We can use this to change, much in the same way as we have on the others. The only difference with this one is that we can change the number of sides of our Enon. Again, we have the same options for the centered and also the position here. By right clicking, we can convert, as we did previously, to a point selection. So the next shape we'll look at in the Q menu is the star shape here. So let's left click on that. Again, we get our familiar tools options dialog box, and I will drag out a star shape like so. Let's bring this down. You can see we've got our normal information across the top. We don't need to go through that anymore. And we've got our centered, which we understand. We have our familiar width and height, as well as our what's called verts here, which is essentially the points on our star, the number of points we can change with this slider here. The other option here called ratio is the distance between the inner and outer points here. So if I slide this, you'll get a better understanding that we can change that ratio like so. So the star tool, along with those other primitives, are really good starting points to create basic shapes. The next tool that we'll look at is the spiral tool. Hit Q and move over to this icon here, and we have the same options, a few extra ones on here. So let's take a look. I'll click and drag a spiral shape out like so, and I'll just move this one. Now your spiral might not look exactly the same as, but essentially you should have something along these lines. Now the spiral tool has the same options that we have on other ones, where we can change the width between our spiral. We have our clockwise and anti-clockwise direction on here, and we have angle. It essentially gives us more and more loops. The interesting ones on here are the DR and DH sliders at the bottom. To understand what these are doing, we need to change our camera angle. And here you can see that our spiral is not a flat object like the other curves that we've been looking at. And this is where these two sliders come in. If I was to bring this down to 0, essentially what I've got here is a spring. And if I change the angle on here, I can create more loops in my spring. If I change the width, I can change the height. And if I change the DH slider here, I extend or compress the spring shape. Now that the primitives are out of the way, let's look at a couple more of these tools here. So to start with, I'm going to make a couple of curves here to demonstrate. I'll choose the outer curve, Q, and I'll choose this first option here, which is the smudge. And the smudge, again, works on the radius of the cursor here. So here, for example, I'm left clicking and I'm just pushing the curve in a direction that I want to do. So if you want something that's a little bit more subtle and based on the size of your cursor here, we can just massage that curve into the shape or the form that we need. The next tool we'll look at here is this one here, which is essentially a smoothing tool. And I'll reduce my radius size. Let's make it a little bit bigger. So what happens when I start to move this tool is at the beginning it will just act as a normal kind of like smudge tool. But if I hold down Shift, then you can see that what happens is it starts to collapse this down and smooth it all down. Let's undo that. It was a little bit too harsh. You can see here across the top that I've got a shift smooth speed, and that was 100%. So again, I'll reduce it down to 5, and I'll reduce this down to 25. And try again. And you can see it's trying to smooth this down. So it's that constant moving between left clicking and moving the points like so, and then holding down Shift. You can see we're getting that nice smooth action on there. So with this inner curve here, I'll hold Shift with the smooth tool active and start to move over, and gives me a different organic type shape, and I can go ahead and start to manipulate this again. So I've gone ahead now and created this curve here using the straight line tool here. So what I will do now is I will hit Q on the keyboard and I'll choose this one here to select some points. So I'll select these 3 points here, and then I'm going to hit Q again, and I'm going to use the fillet tool here. So it's known as the remove sharp corners. So you can see once I've selected and I choose the fillet tool, then it will remove those sharp corners, and I can use this radius here to increase and decrease that fillet on there. And also if you see this little extra checkbox here, it says do bevel. A fillet, it will just do a chamfer on here instead. So it won't fillet, it will chamfer. And you can see, again, we can change those like so. But we can toggle between a fillet and a chamfer using that tool. So as we end this video, let's talk about those two tools here that we spoke about earlier. So first of all, I'm going to select the pen circle tool. If you were to left click, nothing actually appears. The way to activate this tool is to use this on plane feature here first to get that familiar cursor, and you can see that circle in the middle of the on plane tool, which I can increase and decrease the size of. And if I click once, you'll see that it brings a circle to the cursor. So the curve created is dependent on the circle size of my cursor here. The number of sectors on there, we can change that using this dialog here. If I turn this off now, you can see that now my pen circle is active, and I can carry on and place more circles at varying sizes, and I can change the number of sectors in those curves that I generate. So the final tool that we will look at in this video is the cut slice tool here. And when you select this tool and start to click, you'll see this red line appear, and once you release, nothing happens. And the reason for this is that we need some extra geometry in here to actually use this tool properly. So I've gone ahead and I've created two shapes, this polygroup 1 and polygroup 2. And what this tool will do for me is if I click now and drag and I hold shift down to snap, you'll see that it forms a curve to my polygroup shape here. So I can keep going with this now and create cross sections around this form that I've created. Let me hide the polygroup shape here, and you can see those curves that have been generated based on the form that I created. Each one has created its own layer, as we would expect in the curves tree. Let's delete these and look at the other shape, and I'm going to use the same tool, and this time I will cut vertically down and create some cross sections of this shape like so. Again, hide the form, and you can see those nice cross sections and that slow transition of form in those curves without me having to manipulate any of the curves at all. What I'm going to do now is use a feature of the mesh menu here called Live Smooth, and this will convert our poly model into a temporary sculpt object. So I'm going to enable this object now, and although nothing may seem to have happened, reduce the opacity of my poly frame here. You can see that underlying here is now a sculpt object. What I'll do, just to make it clearer, is remove the retopo wireframe now, just so we can see that sculpt object. So in a way, this is working as a subdivided mesh based off of our polygroup that we had here. Now this is useful to us using this tool because we can now draw over and start to section our sculpted object like so. If I hide the sculpt and hide the polygroup there, now you can see that same process where I now have these sections of that form that I created previously. Let's turn back on our polygroup shape and also the temporary sculpt object, and I'm going to remove these curves that I've just generated, and with the tool still active, I'll snap to this view here and I'll start to draw outwards and release the mouse. Again, let's hide that sculpt object and my poly object, and now we can see those curves aren't complete loops going all the way around, but are segments which we can use to our advantage. So that concludes this initial look at these extra tools in the Q menu. In the next video, we will look at these techniques in a little more depth to create some more assets. See you next time.